What up? We got 56 people in here already. That was quick. What are we doing here? We are refinishing an upright piano. I'm at the final stages of it. Got the body laying right here. Got the finished top coat on there now. We're going to be moving it into the shop, the actual, shop on Monday. Right now I am working on getting these leg pieces sanded down for the last coat on them. They look pretty nice so far. Not bad. I just got to go over and basically do a buff sanding over all this right now. So that's what I'm doing. So much fun. I spent most of the day doing a backsplash at this person's house, which came out decent. There's a few parts. She was using like that darn net freaking tile for the entire backsplash, and it's like a whole puzzle piece trying to get that thing to work. And like the way it lined up, there were some pieces that were just way too thin, and they would just keep breaking every time I went over the freaking saw. And it's like, I can't do this. So I told my boss that we got to figure out something else for those really thin areas, because it ain't gonna work. I'll come over to you guys here in a moment. Let me just get some sanding done real quick. Once I get this lower half sanded, I promise this will be more interesting. Maybe. I don't know. Honestly, I give myself too much to do. By the way, I don't know if you guys knew this, but I'm in a band. I play bass in a band. We are called Of the Oceans. You should totally look us up if you haven't. We're on Spotify, YouTube. We posted a music video on our YouTube channel. Came out really, really good. Like, really, really good. And we're getting ready to drop our first, what's it called? What does Scott call it? I guess a demo? Like 4 songs. We're working on getting 4 songs recorded. We've been playing live shows, and all the money we get goes to recording or merch. And we're getting ready to have some new t-shirts too, designed by me. The t-shirt design is really cool. It's of a scuba diver helmet with what's like broken. I'll post a picture of it eventually, but it's like broken away. You can see like a skull on the inside of the diver's helmet, and there's like octopus tentacles like wrapping around it and everywhere. And the actual like diver helmet, like glass piece, is the seed of life. Put that in there. Had to. It looks so good, and it looks really good on a black shirt, printed in all white. Oh. So again, we're called Of the Oceans. Of the Oceans. If you have a hard time finding it, be sure to put like your filters on like channel. Search for a channel, Of the Oceans, no spaces. It might come up if you put spaces in there, but there's quite a few channels that are Of the Oceans, and we only have a few subscribers at this point. We had a live show last night at a skate shop where like they actually have a half pipe that you can like skate while your people are playing. That was a really good show. The other bands we played with were awesome as well. This one band came in from Virginia Beach, and they were just dope. I think they were called Defying Death. I forget. I don't know. Don't hold me on that. But Great stage presence. Almost done, guys. Well, I'm not almost done. But let me finish this last one here, and then I'll come over to you, because I can see a whole lot of chatting going on. All right. I'm going to grab you here. Conspiracy talk. Oh, don't get me started. YouTube will ban me. What a beautiful restoration. I know, it's going to look good. Let me do a walk around for you so you guys can see it. So, if you imagine it sanding. Oop, hold on. Rotate. I can't lock the screen. Let me try to lock this real quick so it doesn't rotate on me. So, oh well. I don't know how well that's coming out. It's not bad. It's got a really nice color to it. It's got a hole right there where those legs fill this void right here, right? So, actually, let's go. Let me grab one, stick it in there. I haven't sanded on this one yet. I don't know if it's labeled which side goes where. One of these was super tight going in. We're going to see what it is. Oh, yeah. It's going to go. Oh, it's upside down. Duh. So I need to do another coat of toner on this. See how much more brown it is? It's way too brown for this red, so I gotta make this redder. But I think it looks pretty good. Oop. Not bad. I sprayed these pieces, but it's dark outside right now, so I don't want to leave the light on so bugs get on there, but the lid is drying off right now. How long does it take to redo a piano? Well, when I first got the job, I asked, the guy I'm working for now, how long would you say it takes to, redo a whole baby grand piano? And he was like, oh, about 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, well, that's not that bad. Well, I've never done this before. This is my first time actually doing anything with wood in this way. And so I have a major learning curve coming. Like, this will be my 4th piano that I'm working on right now. And, rookie mistakes lead to more time it takes to fix your mistakes. Oh, get in there. I'm trying to charge my phone because it's also slightly dying. It takes me about a month at least to do a piano. Sometimes, depending on the mistake, could take up to like a month and a half sometimes. So, not a great turnaround, but hey, you can only work on making that faster. Samrau. Have you ever done that thing where you burn the wood, then sand it down real good, then stain it? It looks really cool if you do it right. I have not done that. No, I have not. Is it going to stay dark brown? It's going to stay that color that I showed you. I didn't see that message to start, my bad. King and Queen turban. Right on, woodwork. What's the name of the band? Of the Oceans. In case you didn't hear. Okay, there we go. Not Sound of Ocean. Of the Oceans. There we go. Of the Oceans. What kind of music? We do heavy metal, but we call it collage core. It's where like some parts, like that head banging heavy metal stuff, like with the screamo gutturals. Yep, I love that. I love that music. And then all of a sudden we slide it into some crazy groovy jazz, or like some kind of really methodical, wavy stuff. I don't know how to explain it. People who listen to us are like, it's hard to compare you to some bands, and the ones they do compare us to are some really big bands, and that's actually really, really dope. That like random people are like, dude, you sound like so and so. I don't remember him off the top of my head, but our vocalist Kyle, he's super into music. He knows the name of every song, it seems. But he's like, oh my gosh, you were being compared to like some awesome people. So that's pretty dope. Can you show us the piano and what you're fixing? Yeah, did that. You ever heard ancient Egyptian music? Of course I have. Tanner Moore, hey man, I've been looking for material that goes off the deep end in early civilization ideas. Can you recommend way out there materials, please? Zechariah. Well, the first name I would have you look up is Randall Carlson, and just deep dive into all of his work. He's got a YouTube channel, Cosmographia, where he goes over all of the things that he's been studying for decades now, like 40 years of study. Like if I could like absorb Randall Carlson's brain, I just like know all of his knowledge immediately would just be the most amazing thing on the planet. His new YouTube channel is Cosmographia with a K, Cosmographia. And his older YouTube channel is Geocosmic Rex. Now, Randall Carlson doesn't exactly go deep into like the evidence, I would say, for previous civilization. He goes into the geology, geography, mythology, and astrology, sacred geometry. He basically goes through a lot of the stuff that I basically talk about because he's the first guy that I heard this stuff from. So I basically absorbed all of his content I could get my hands on. I have, and I haven't been keeping up with him recently just because I listen to just news all the time, and that's what keeps me, listening to things. But Randall Carlson is definitely a place to go. Sacred Geometry Decoded. Do SGD, actually type that out, SGD, Sacred Geometry Decoded. He's got a lot of awesome videos on the sacred geometry stuff, along with, I guess, what you could call debunking the high lost advanced technology crowd, like what you might like Bright Insight. He actually has a kind of a feud going on with Bright Insight where they were kind of going back and forth for a while, which was quite interesting to watch. But he goes through very well detailed videos on like methods on cutting stone, on moving stone, how stone was moved using actual references and videos that still exist of people using basic means of moving gigantic like stones, like the unfinished obelisk in Aswan, in the Aswan Quarry, explaining how that could have been moved because the water during all of these things being constructed was completely different, much higher, much closer to the pyramids themselves, much closer to the quarry themselves. So you would only really have to move the stone like down the hill a few hundred yards into a barge that I believe the Egyptians were absolutely capable of doing, because we have hieroglyphs and paintings of gigantic ships on the walls of their tombs. So I do think it was, I got totally sidetracked from what you asked me. But SGD, Sacred Geometry Decoded, that's another really good one. I mean, the only other ones would be Bright Insight and Uncharted X. However, there are a lot of things that I do disagree with from those two guys. I did watch their content a lot, back when I first started getting into this stuff and they first started posting. But my opinions have since changed on what the picture of the past actually looks like. Excuse me. So I'm trying to get a third channel in my brain that I would actually recommend. Secrets in Plain Sight. That's another good one. I don't remember the name of this one channel. Unfortunately, the guy died. It's like CF Apps, like CF dash apps, APPS, and then a bunch of numbers, 7, 8. No, I forget the numbers. But he basically, his whole channel was basically labeling ancient sites, and obviously, talking about ideas, but like just like putting a dot on the planet on Google Earth where every single ancient site he could find ever. His Google Earth file is remarkable. Like you click on the button and just like the Earth just lights up with how many ancient sites there are. So those would be my 3 that I would suggest for you. What are you going to be working on after this project? After this project, I have another baby grand piano to do, but there's so many projects, personal projects, that I would love to get done, but I have no time to get any of that done because the guy's got to eat and pay the bills, and the world is just amazing right now. It's just amazing. Even though there's a fire raging on the other side of that wall, the world's not on fire. Trying to find that last comment. Oh, there it is. Need to know, Justin Oki. Okay, checked on Spotify. Need to know the genre. Heavy metal. Dude, you're basically releasing secrets that only Puro ancestors knew. Please tell me more secrets, please. Well, I mean, it's not that they're secrets. It's that nobody talks about them. It's the lost history that was never forgotten. It's always been around, but people think you're crazy if you start to, talk about the idea that the ancient ancestors were far more sophisticated and intelligent and further ahead than we give them credit for. Basically, the channels that I mentioned earlier is what I would honestly dive into. And honestly, just go from there. Like from subjects that they talk about, find other things. My bread and butter, what I would love to do, if I found something, if I was listening to something or read something that I thought was interesting. For an example, the mound builders. I've been honestly researching the mound builders in Northern America quite extensively recently, and they are quite curious people. The Hopewell is what they're called. And, just from studying that, let's just say you type in Hopewell mounds and you begin to either watch videos or read stuff about the Hopewell, and then from there you might go, oh well, this is talking about this specific mound, let me follow this, and you just keep following that road, and then it's one of those things you gotta do yourself. There it is. Okay. This one, what's the secret? What you up to? Oh, just work. I just got done doing some finished work on this piano, and I'm at kind of a stopping point for tonight, and I figured I'd just jump on here real quick, talk to you guys. A long time ago, I met you on Overwatch. Now I'm taking an ancient history class because of you, spiking interest in history. That is awesome, JT Sandman. I've spoken with so many people on Overwatch, let me tell you. Like, I started actually talking with people on Overwatch 4 or 5 years ago. I don't do it as often as I used to, but I would basically create a lobby on Overwatch, and people would join in, and I would just begin to go through like a script that I basically created in my brain from talking with so many people over and over and over again, that I can just like run through the script of like pointing out information. If you want to listen to like literally what it is, like the video I posted, Omegle Shattered Reality, that's basically the script that I would go through, not all of it, but a good chunk of it, with people on Overwatch, and having them just like look up stuff on Google Images while I'm just talking with them, staring at my, Overwatch background. So, but super cool. Glad I was able to spark your interest in that, because more of us need to be interested in it, because people ask that question, what's the point of any of this? This isn't going to change anything. Who cares? Okay. How many videos of people reacting to other videos? What's contributing there? What's being gained in that kind of... Now, I'm not bashing on reaction videos. Don't get me wrong. I am guilty of watching them. But if you think about it, it's literally pointless. Pointless. Other than to laugh at somebody else's laughter. Okay, that's fine. Okay. But people ask me the question is, why does any of this stuff matter? Well, I'll tell you why it matters to me. Because I'm extremely passionate about the subject, first of all. The amount of stuff I have learned over the past 7 years of just getting anything I get my hands on and just like investigating into it. I used to suck at math growing up. I am way better at math now. Still not the greatest, but from wanting to be able to do these equations and these things myself, to try to figure it out, I've gained a lot of knowledge from that. I'm way better than most people at geography and being able to point places out, knowing the names of ancient sites, knowing numbers off the top of my head. So what's the point? If you don't care, you don't care. Move on, scroll on, click on. Nobody cares about your opinion because you don't care. With that being said, I think a lot of people do care, and a lot of people are interested and curious and motivated by the mystery of the ancient world, that who knows what could come from it. Obviously, I don't know the answer to the question as to what's it going to solve, what's it going to do. I don't know yet. We haven't gotten to the point where more people even understand what's going on 11,000 years ago. I get people that are like, there hasn't been an extinction level event in recent history at all. Okay, recent history. What is your definition of a cataclysmic event, first of all? If we're talking like global cataclysmic event, the last time that happened was only 12,000 years ago. 12,000 years ago. Then directly after, a massive world-destroying cataclysmic event that resulted in 400 species of megafauna to go extinct. I think the number was 400. It was probably actually more like 120 species of no, I forget. I've heard 120 up to 400. I forget. Anyway, huge extinction level event. Mammoths, mastodon, saber-toothed tiger, giant sloth, the dire wolf. So many megafauna. All of a sudden just poosh, vanished. But there wasn't a... That's what that is. That kind of ignorance is a result of our education system, which is extremely unfortunate. But the government is completely broken in every single way. And can't get anything right. So we got a whole bunch of stupid people out walking around. I'm sorry. It's not your fault. It's whose fault is it? Because everybody's blaming everybody about it right now, but nobody's solving any of the problems. Anyway, I'm gonna come back down here in the comments. That was quite the rant. How do you feel about astrology? I would say that there is probably some kind of interesting truth within astrology, but like the whole mysticism of it being like, on this day the planets were aligned to this and you were born and that's because of... I can't say I buy it. I don't buy any of that. I would say astrology was probably more used to, calculate the cycles that the galaxy and solar system go through. Probably more so. That's just my opinion, though. I do not know. I'm not well read in astrology, unfortunately, because I just haven't cared to look into that one. Mud flood theory. I have heard of the mud flood theory. That's another of those subjects that I just haven't cared to invest time into, just because the mud flood theory is that these are modern buildings that look like they are deeper in the ground. Okay, not modern buildings, but like not ancient, not ancient buildings. And I don't know. I don't see how that has any connection to the ancient world, to be honest. Went from build to music to mythology. Just the music of the universe. Any song is made by the universe, starting with a rock, ending with opera. All music is God's music. Okay. Beautiful, isn't it? All right. May you and your friends be blessed forever. Why, thank you. Makes zero sense for mega structures on Easter Island or Machu Picchu. I don't know. They're there. I don't know what makes no sense about it. Why should you fear sacred geometry, Peter Furtak? I'm not afraid of it whatsoever. I don't know what's keeping you, from just taking another step. Sacred geometry is not scary at all. In fact, I find it quite interesting. Andrea Taran, I think it's how you say it. The process of enlightenment starts this summer. Enjoy. Okay. I want to send you my number. Pythagorean theorem. The way this is going, I'm a little worried, but excited at the same time. Where do you work? That's for me to know and you to not know. Because I don't know if my boss would want me to, let everybody know exactly where we are, if you know what I'm saying. If I tell you that, then you then know where I am. I mean, there's probably a bunch of people who know where I am, but hey, that is private information. How do you feel about Skinwalker Ranch? It's one of those things that I dove into a little bit before I really got into the ancient history stuff, but I never went down that path. I don't think it's anything supernatural. It's hard to say if it's aliens. I mean, it would be great if it was aliens, don't get me wrong. That'd be amazing, but it's likely people, to be honest, in some way. I don't know. I haven't looked into it enough. You may have already spoken before on the topic, but do you follow Graham Hancock? I did follow Graham Hancock. I read his book. I read 2 of his books, Fingerprints of the Gods and Magician of the Gods, back when I was first getting into all this kind of stuff, because he was on Joe Rogan's podcast with Randall Carlson several times, and so I was like, screw it. I've got an Audible, Audible thing. I can listen to that. So I did. Good books. I would say that Graham Hancock is he's a figure in getting ideas out there, but I do think there are some ideas that I did not share with him. He keeps these guys, I feel like, are getting distracted by the word advanced. Graham Hancock has said on many occasions there was a previously lost ancient advanced civilizations in some way like that, okay? But, sure, anything above Stone Age level is advanced, but the word, I believe, is charged with this imagery of the Jetsons or us, today's world, or advanced, technologically advanced. Okay, how about we change the language to early civilization? Is that possible? Can we all stop using the word advanced? Because we don't know. We have no idea if they were that level of advanced, drilling 100 times more efficiently through this piece of granite with a copper saw like Christopher Dunn. I've completely changed my mind on Christopher Dunn, to be honest. And SGD, Sacred Geometry Decoded, has helped me a lot with that, because I used to buy into everything. Oh, he's a precision engineerist, okay, who has no understanding in cutting granite. And some of the studies he's done are very questionable, but he puts them in his book and sells them. So hey, whatever. But anyway, I totally got sidetracked and I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about before? Oh yeah, Graham Hancock. I mean, I still encourage people to listen to him and, listen to his ideas. Heck, read his book. His books are honestly great, but don't take everything in his books literally. There's, like, for example, his opinions on the stones of Baalbek in Lebanon. There's a lot of wordage that he uses that I wouldn't agree with anymore, but hey, what are you going to do? Tanner Moore, please humor me as a person who is well versed now in your material and that of Randall, Robert S., Graham Hancock, etc. Could you paint me a picture of the past in terms of how you imagine the society? I feel like this is a good question, by the way, after that rant I just had about Graham Hancock's opinion. I would say it was a seafaring society, a maritime civilization who had harbors and boats at least, and likely building think of it like an early Greco-Roman style civilization, or like, who knows if they were like Bronze Age. If they were Bronze Age, I feel like we should be able to find evidence for that somewhere. It's got to be somewhere. Where that is, I don't know. Most coastlines during the Pleistocene are underwater now. But I feel like there had to have been some kind of global connection, and the only way to achieve that would have been by boat. So most of their buildings would have been made of wood, likely, like cabins. Humans have been using wood to build their structures forever. Literally forever. So all of that is gone. All that's completely gone. None of that got preserved. Any structure made out of wood. They probably built up walls with stones. And tens of thousands of years of erosion and, massive cataclysmic event only 11,000 years ago did away with all of that structure. And basically, would have broken up society where you would have tribes of people, trying to survive for a good, millennia. And many of those tribes don't retain the information from that other tribe, and they begin to, go their own way, and they forget things and then learn things. And they forget things and learn things, and then you have these two cultures that have different things. However, some things have a remarkable resemblance and are some of the oldest stories that they've been passing down forever. No, that's just curious to me. So, one of the things that I wish there was more studies on, because you can't just any study you read off the internet, is more studies into the possibility of domesticated animals, and that being in their genetic code. How long do we really know how long the cow and sheep and goat were being used? How long? We've been using dogs for a long time. You think they didn't figure out how to do that thing where they whistle and make the dog go and do something? We know pottery is over 18,000 years old. Pottery. Let me say it again. Pottery is 18,000 to 25,000 years old. What are these people doing with pots? They could poop in it, but I feel like those were more valuable than that. They were probably storing things, which leads me to believe that they were probably farming in some way. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that pottery was found in China, by the way. So that's the picture I would probably paint for you. I'm not even going to try to pronounce your name, my dude. I'm sorry. Hey, man, how can I get copies of your amazing notes with those diagrams? You know what? What I need to do is, first of all, finish a lot of them because a lot of them are not done yet. Like, when they're done, the plan is to actually, like, copy them, print them, and ship them to you, to be honest, and sell them to you guys because that would be pretty dope. But we got to get there first. Other than, until then, there is nowhere other than my notebook and drawing pad where those things exist. Reaction videos are just for entertainment. People like us just love to consume information and aren't driven by entertainment. Nothing wrong with them, just fun to see them if someone sees it like me. I know. I'm not, like I said, I'm not ragging on them. I don't care about that kind of content. I was ridiculing the question of why does any of this matter? Why do you care? And I'm just like, you can move on. That's what I'm saying. Like, just because you know that kind of person who's like, why are we doing this? Like, why does this even matter? You know they don't have any actual intellectual thought going on in their brains, to be honest. And that might have been a little harsh, but you can get over it. How can we use sacred geometry? I wasn't using sacred geometry, but I was using a compass literally today to do tile. That was pretty cool. You're not gonna like use we are not going to use sacred geometry like the ancients did. To the ancients, sacred geometry was literally a calculator. It's how they processed numbers on a 2D plane using universal mathematical geometry that is universal throughout the whole entire existence of everything, right? This is how they were coming up. I mean, if you're an architect, you could use it in, building structures with correct angles and lengths and hypotenuses, like the longest point of a triangle. You can figure that out using a compass and square. If you're an artist, you could use it there. I mean, I've used it in a lot of art, to be honest. Like in my band's current T-shirt, there's a seed of life on the very front of the helmet, the diver helmet. I don't know. You're not going to know until you start to do it. Probably. It's going to get to the point where you'll be doing it, you'll be learning these things, and then you'll go off and do something else and start doing something, but maybe I could use this here. And then there you go. You're using sacred geometry. And it looks great. And it's super cool. And then, super freaking old. True advance is subjective. Agreed. What are your thoughts on the Olmec, Mayans, and Aztecs? Well, we know that the Mayans now were way bigger in population than we originally thought from the LiDAR scans that they've been doing over top of the Amazon, realizing actually how big these freaking cities were. And these structures are only a few feet underneath all of the green brush and jungle that has completely consumed their entire lifestyle. And those are just the stone structures and like the earth piles that we have found. They, again, have been using wooden huts with grass roofs for a really freaking long time, or like some kind of mud wall. That stuff does not last centuries unless maintained. So once the plague, and who knows if it was just, it definitely wasn't just the plague or the Spanish coming over that wiped them out. There was definitely internal conflict within themselves, most definitely, that also did not help at all. So they all died out. Nobody maintained any of these structures, and then in only like 2,000 years did the Mayans disappear. I could be wrong on that number. I'd have to look it up. I'm pretty sure it was 2,000 years ago, but not long. All of a sudden, all that's now underneath the jungle, and you just have these little tiny tribes scattered throughout the trees out there. Um, we know that they were remarkable at math. Now we don't know anything really about the Olmecs. The Olmecs are one of those we have found a few artifacts that we label as the Olmec, and we think that they were the precursors to the Mayans, and the Mayans were, a precursor / struggle with the Aztecs more in Central America, but they didn't, as far as I'm aware, they didn't really intermingle a whole lot, I don't think. But I don't know. Very curious, the people in Central America, the Mayans, Central America, why are they making big old spheres, just huge spheres, so many of them? Look those up. I think it's dang, where are those spheres? Colombia, I think. Could be wrong. What about Gobekli Tepe? What's your explanation then? Well, there have been new studies, by the way, and archaeologists have not stopped digging in the area, and they have found settlements around that area. So the original thought is that this wasn't a place of gather. This was a place like a temple, sacred place. They always label it a temple. It always becomes some kind of temple. Then there's that crazy stuff where they said it was a skull cult where they would cut people's heads off and just nonsense. And more excavations have been done, and they're finding more of like a lifestyle environment around Gobekli Tepe. So it was likely a center place, and I don't know if there's been any actual peer-reviewed studies done of any kind of significant alignments those stones have to the stars. Because if they do, that means these people had a level of understanding of astronomy that shouldn't exist until Mesopotamia. Only like 8,000 roughly years ago. But Gobekli Tepe, not being only 11, 12,000 years old, likely way older than that. Like who knows how long that site had been there. And by the way, come to find out, it was not buried. It was not buried. They were able to determine that it was from the runoff of the hill that filled and covered Gobekli Tepe, by the way. At least that's what that last study I read said. I think it's evidence that, human beings during the Pleistocene were way more sophisticated than just Stone Age people wandering around eating berries and hunting animals with sharp sticks. Gobekli Tepe was not built overnight. It was built over hundreds, possibly thousands of years, depending on the actual size of the site. So I would agree with Graham Hancock on that thing, that Gobekli Tepe is absolutely evidence for a more advanced society. Don't you think electromagnetic spectrum has something to do with energy and everybody? I am not super knowledgeable about electromagnetic energy, but I would say that it probably has something to do with it, that and freaking vibration. I don't think we understand or it can even comprehend what vibrations are doing to us right now. 180,000 follower and 35 people watching. Something's wrong with your contribution, man. Greeting from Germany. Well, I appreciate that, Montselvery. Pretty sure that's how you say that. Well, yeah, it's I went to sleep one time with only 400 followers, and then I woke up one day with 180,000 on here, and I was like, whoa, that's interesting. That's quite interesting. I have 925,000 followers on TikTok, but that number's been going down recently because I really have not been posting. I've been way too preoccupied, honestly, with this and other jobs and, the band and, family time and helping my parents up on their property. And then, like, I get a friend that's like, hey, man, can you draw me this? And I hate saying no. So I'm like, yeah, I can do that. But it's going to be a while. It's going to be a long time. I got 2 people that I told them, no, 3 people that I told them I would draw them something. And I still haven't done it. And it's been a long time. I should probably get on that. Using it as cups. When you clap at the ancient Mayan temples, the sound that comes back sounds like a bird. That is Chichen Itza. And, they say, what's the name of that darn? Hold on. The Temple of Quetzalcoatl, or El Castel, is the name of the pyramid. And if you're like standing in front of the stairs and you clap, it sounds like a bird chirping at you. And their explanation is that the sound goes up to the top into the temple and then back down. And like, that's how it makes the noise. But I think it makes a little bit more sense that when you clap, each step is slightly closer to you. Like, the bottom step is the closest to you, and as you go to the top, it gets further away from you. So that sound wave is hitting each individual step at a different time. So when it hits it, it changes that wave as it comes back to you. Does that make sense? So it sounds different, like a bird chirping. I think that's the more correct explanation. But that's what the guide says if you go watch any videos of people talking about it. It's like, it goes up the temple and back down. It's like, well, that's not exactly how sound works, but whatever. You have a perfectly shaped head. Well, you should thank my mother for that, and my father. They're the ones who gave me this head, but I appreciate it. I got lucky with this head. So I lost my hair, get this, at 17. Oh yeah, I know. It was going bad. It was going real bad here in the back and loose in here in the front. And by like mid 17, my family actually pressured me to do it. They're like, just do it. What's the worst that could happen? So I did, and I never went back. So this is my head. We have no explanation for the reverb of the sound wave. Well, I think I tried to explain it for you there. Hope you get to this one. Given your personal image of the pre-Civ, what is your current running idea on how the pyramids were created, or Machu Picchu, etc.? Thank you, from Kai. I would say that they were not built using any kind of crazy technology. I believe it's simple physics and principles that the ancient world knew about and knew, because they had to do it every day to move big, heavy things. They had to use these methods that we have people in today's world completely forgotten. By using leverage, ropes and pulleys, animals were able to move those stones. Because the problem isn't, when you're talking about a pyramid, like the Great Pyramid, the majority of the stones are limestone casing blocks, and the internal stone of the structure, like the inside actual bulk of the structure, is not perfectly cut, polished blocks. Like, they're up to 2 to 5 tons each, and it's basically rubble, mostly, heaped up into a pile. They shape the blocks, in a way, but they don't make sure that they're pretty or nothing. They just, stack them up. And a pyramid already being a ramp, I think it is possible to be able to do that with large teams of people. Now, was it the Egyptians? That's what we're told. But if it was, then they knew way more about this planet than we give anybody in the ancient world credit for. Because whoever built the Great Pyramid knew the shape, size, dimensions of not only the Earth, but also the Moon, and also a whole bunch of mathematical universal constants that ancient people didn't know about. We're told that the Greeks figured those things out. Or the Greeks were learning from the Egyptians, and the Greeks got it wrong because they thought the world was freaking flat for a while. Whoever built the Great Pyramid knew. So hold on, if the Greeks are learning from the Egyptians and they didn't learn that the Earth was a sphere, then either the majority of the Egyptians didn't know about it. Like, did the Old Kingdom Egyptians know? Because if the Old Kingdom Egyptians knew, there's this major like gap in between Old Kingdom Egyptians and New Kingdom Egyptians. Was all that knowledge lost in that massive black gap in between history? And if the Egyptians knew about it, then how much lead up? No, that's not the right word. I wouldn't say that the Old Kingdom Egyptians figured it out. I believe that it was likely known for a really freaking long time, to be honest. And they finally encoded into it. That's the only way we can explain that. Whoever built the Great Pyramid knew this, though. I am gonna die on that hill. I'm gonna die on it. Do you work for a company, or do you do this yourself? The woodworking. I work for a company, but I'm a contractor, so I basically work for myself. But I don't pay myself through my own company. It's somebody else's company. Doc McGillicuddy, I think that's how you say that. How are you? I'm doing aight, bro. I'm doing aight. Taking it day by day. You wake up, you go to work, you pound it out, you get through it, you go home, you try to work on the other things, spend time with family, and go to bed and repeat. Yes, I will buy those notes when you do. Thanks, man. Love your channel. Your druid friend, the Wren. Well, thanks, bro. I appreciate that. And prefer to see your notes raw and unpolished. Well, fine. I'll go through them and I'll pick a few to start. How about that? I heard the underground wall in Texas was a natural feature. I thought it looked cool. They say it's a natural feature, but is it? Is it? It's just square. Like, I don't know. That's weird. Or rectangle, excuse me. Oh, gee, thanks, Maxwell Mook. Just interesting that someone built it and then it was covered, possibly by a deluge of some sort. No, if it was a flood, if it was a big flood, I feel like it would have knocked over a lot more of those pillars, because a lot of them were just standing, literally in. That's why they thought it was purposefully buried, is because all these pillars were just like perfectly set where they were, with all this soft silt in between them, and it was in layers, right? But the studies reveal that from rainfall, because we're talking about an area that doesn't get a lot of rain to begin with, but when they were built, they got a lot of rain, by the way. Sorry, that was wrong at the very beginning. Anyway, from like the gradual rain, just made all that stuff travel downhill and just slowly fill it up. Pure speculation, what if all the ancient sites were part of the society that was responsible for the Tower of Babel, universal language that could explain the explanation for the commonalities and the link between these? I know your stance on the Bible, but dig into the link between your research and biblical study. I would say the Tower of Babel is a metaphor. Imagine the tower as civilization and society that we're building. We're building this tower of achievement. And the collapse of the tower is the natural cycle of whether it be humanity or nature that destroys what we create, sending us back to the ground, and from us being cut off and separated, languages eventually evolve into different dialects over thousands of years, and languages are lost. You know, that's how I view Tower of Babel. I don't know. I can't say if it was an actual tower or not. The sun has been showing unusual activity the past week. Strong solar flares are communications blackouts possible. Yeah. I mean, at least that's what we're told. And I wouldn't be surprised. A big solar flare? Of course. The link between the A isn't sites. It's I know your stance. Oh yeah, I already read that. Holy bro, you got a huge TikTok following. It sounds like you aren't aware of the significance. You know, you could retire, right? I could not retire right now. No, I don't make enough content to be able to do that. I guess you'd say, because I'm too busy doing so many other things. On vibration with frequency using sand on a plate, do you think church windows are the same pattern as the frequency patterns made? I don't think. Oh, well, sacred geometry is absolutely used to make a lot of the stained glass windows you see. So vibration, I believe, is also connected to, sacred geometry in some way. So I know it is. Like the numbers of frequencies keep showing up in sacred geometry and stuff like that. So maybe. The vibration of cathedrals. I mean, think of that. Now this is a rumor. I don't know if this is actually true. Apparently, it's like illegal in some churches out in Europe to sing in them. You're not allowed to. Well, that's kind of weird. That's kind of sus, to be honest. Ethan Lamar, hello. Just found your content today and proceeded to binge it all. Cool channel. Appreciate that, my dude. Great videos. Glad you crossed my feed. Thanks, Chris Allen. How aware are you of the yugas, the holy science of Swami Sri Yukteswar, and his potentially loads of insight explaining? I have heard of them. I have not dived deeply into them, unfortunately. Jersey Jimfish. I know many things through the ancient world are compared to them. I do know that much. Kind of hoped you were on the woo-woo stuff with Graham and I, LOL. Now I ask, what is your spiritual philosophy? Ongoing. Let's just put it that way. Still trying to figure all that stuff out. Because I have a hard time believing that, like, anybody actually knows what's going on. But my investigation into the ancient world and, like, mythology and, like, how, like, we're starting to find things that, like, we can actually compare to that, could have been actual things as explained from these ancient texts. So I think something's got to be going on. I'm not one of those people. I used to be one of those people that's like, oh, it's just, a puddle woke up and it was like, oh, I just so happened to perfectly fit in this hole. That was my mentality. And if you haven't heard of that reference, Matt Dillahunty on the Atheist Experience. I used to watch the Atheist Experience religiously. I thought, like, Matt Dillahunty has such a way with some people. It is funny and entertaining to listen to, but after investigating especially sacred geometry and how it connects to, like, a lot of the universe, it's kind of like, that's a little sus. It's a little sus. What would you say the main function of the Great Pyramid was? Was it a power station? I have no idea, is the unfortunate thing. Whatever its actual function was, I don't know, but I definitely believe it was used to encode knowledge. They encoded the dimensions of the planet into it, along with a lot of universal constants. And we find the speed of light. That one's kind of, that one makes you think, like, because like how does an early civilization figure out the speed of light? It sounds absurd. That's why people have to, like, people say, "Oh, you're some alien guy." No, I'm just curious, super curious. Vapor missile, gratitude and positive ways. Stay frosty, everyone, and share your learning. We're actually making progress in the crazy endeavor of wisdom rocks. Yeah, bro. Hey, from Texas here. There's dinosaurs tracks everywhere. That's pretty dope. What books do you recommend to read to get into sacred geometry? I have not really dove into many books on the subject, to be quite honest. I am very much a visual learner and listener. So I basically have been watching videos of people doing it, people talking about it. And, you know, if something from a video sparks my curiosity, I'll go and investigate further and read into the Bisca Pisces, you know, or, you know, what's so significant about the Star of David, or, you know, what's it called? Like the Jesus fish, okay? The eucalyptus, no. Dang, I should know that. But like, yeah. It's not like I would like. I have not read a book from start to finish about sacred geometry, so I'm sorry that I cannot give you one. Mad Welsh. I agree that I think there's definitely some crazy stuff with sound. Wait. What do you mean the Egyptians knew the speed of light? Okay, well, if you Google Great Pyramid of Giza coordinates, the numbers Google gives you 29.9792458. The speed of light in a vacuum is 29 million. I can never remember it off the top of my head. 299792458. They're the same number. Now, granted, it's not directly over top of the Great Pyramid. It's kind of a little bit to the north. It's almost directly over the direct center of the Grand Gallery if you're looking down at the Great Pyramid. But 29.9792458 shows up in the latitude coordinates of the Great Pyramid. Also, let me just draw this. Hold on, let me get a pencil here. Paper. So imagine we have the Great Pyramid. We're looking at it from above. Okay, Great Pyramid. So if we were to draw a circle inside of the Great Pyramid, like that, so it touches all the walls, okay? And then we draw a circle on all the four corners on the outside, like that. So circle on the outside we'll call A, circle on the inside we'll call B, okay, like that. If we subtract the circumference of the circle B from the circle A, we get a number that is 97% close to the accuracy of the speed of light in a vacuum as well. Now, actually, I'm pretty sure that's actually higher than that. I think it's like 98.9, 98.9. I forget the whole number, but that's another spot we find the speed of light. Now, you could say that we're just playing with numbers. Sure, go ahead. But to quote Randall Carlson, yes, we're playing with numbers because the people who constructed and conceived of these monuments were also clearly playing with numbers. And if you just do a little bit of research and mathematics of your own by actually going and buying these measurements and doing the math yourself and having those numbers show up on your calculator and you just go, Wow, that's nuts. Yeah, kind of makes you question a lot of things. Tanner Moore, do you have anything to say? Oh, wait a minute. That's not where I started. Okay. Do you have anything to say about the sound of sympathetic resonance with regards to material levitation? Woo woo. I know. Please humor me. It's quite interesting. I mean, I know that there are rumors that the ancient world, like there were like monks or whatever that would chant to make rocks float, but I've got absolutely no sources on that whatsoever. Where did my chat go? My chat just disappeared. Oh, there it is. But I mean, we've seen there's videos of people who make these little tiny like contraptions that make little like things float, and I saw one where they were actually able to manipulate and like build things without touching the object at all. It's pretty crazy. I love it. The ichthys. Thank you, Justin Osborne. The ichthys. Justin Bennett, you want to make this fun? Find whatever pyramid matches closest to the measurements on your skull, and I'll put money on it that your bloodline is from the area. I mean, if you want to put your time into figuring that out, go for it. How many more Egyptian cities do you think are buried in the sand with the pyramids we don't know about? I'll do one better. How many structures used to be in the direct area of the Great Pyramids that is now completely buried under the city of Cairo? Like there's a huge city surrounding the pyramids now. That wasn't always there. You know, every time they do any kind of like excavating into the city, they find some kind of ancient artifact. So yeah, put on top of that that the Sahara is massive, is a massive desert, at least 100 feet deep in sand. Yeah, who knows? We have no idea. How was the global coordinates system created? Are you saying the creator of the pyramids were using the same system? We get the measurements of the Great. Let me come over here again. The idea of a circle being 360 degrees is some of the most ancient knowledge on the planet. The Mesopotamians are where we get this from. They were using the sexagesimal based in 60. Okay, so 360 comes from them. Geometry forces, and by the way, the reason for that, the reason they got 360 is because from their observation, there were 360 days in the year. And when you apply that to a circle and then using geometry that they were absolutely using, you can come out with 86,400 seconds in the day, and it just keeps going with that stuff. So when it comes to using the same method principles on a sphere, and if they knew the equator, which I believe they did, they could have absolutely used the same method for that. You know, they knew 90 degrees. They knew 180 degrees here. So this is 0, 180. Well, this would actually be 360. Right, so it'd go all the way around. You could totally get degrees from there. So the equator being 0, I don't think is a crazy coincidence. You know, it's a great point. You have the north and you have the south. You think we're the first ones to figure this out? I think it's ridiculous. I believe the ancient people knew the seconds where the equator was and how big the Earth was, and encoded all that information into the Great Pyramid and in other cultures all across the planet. Can't they use LiDAR scanning like the done in the Amazon to help locate lost things in the desert? No, because, well, possibly. If something, it measures the density of things. So if something is more dense, it registers that area as like hot, I guess you could say, which raises it from the bed. So maybe, but I don't know if anybody's going to put the time into doing that. All right, guys. Well, I am going to, come on now. For about an hour 14 now. It's late. It's 11:20, and it's been a pleasure. I'm going to go to bed now. Have a wonderful night.